Will the price of Bitcoin exceed $100,000 during the next 4 years? 100% indeed, I do. Sure, if you're an investor and you have a strong belief that an asset will double in value within the next 4 years, you might want to put a lot of your money into that. As an investor, that is essentially how I am perceiving this. Plus, I believe it will boost your self-assurance. If you intend to keep this asset for the foreseeable future and would prefer to keep a larger percentage of your wealth in it than, say, 1% or 2%, we discussed the power law, how it works, and what it means in a recent Simply Bitcoin interview with Krueger. Bitcoin was trading at $1.57 during the debate, up less than 1% in the prior 24 hours and down less than 1% in the preceding 7 days. In order to forecast the value of Bitcoin, Krueger investigated the fascinating idea of power laws. He elaborated on how this mathematical theory can be used to better comprehend and predict the value of Bitcoin in the future. While discussing the possible dangers of depending too largely on a single forecasting model, Krueger emphasized the importance of seeing patterns in Bitcoin's price history as signs of future trends. Honestly, I'm perplexed by the fact that that seems to be the first question you have. Shall we revisit that? As far as they're concerned, Bitcoin has already set sail. I really should start investing in dog currencies. Very well. I mean, look, Bitcoin is still very much alive and well, isn't it? So over the next 5 years, Bitcoin's value could increase by 30 to 40% annually, the average of the following 10 years, perhaps even longer. And those yields are absolutely phenomenal. Do not be excessively greedy. That won't satisfy me, though, if you start saying that. A puppy coin ventures in my future. Your dog coins could see a 90% decline in value in less than a year. Giving the impression that this investment may yield returns of 30 to 40% annually is therefore completely illogical. The quality is inadequate in my opinion. Because I require a 400% annual return, I am willing to stake it all on an extremely risky wager. Not only that, but it will destroy my entire standing. I simply believe that is wrong. Bitcoin is not going to be able to handle that. It is only inadequate. Investment philosophy. Also, I wrote a piece on the subject, but basically, I don't think Bitcoin is designed to be a moneymaker. The purpose of it is to help you save the money you have. You should think of it this way: with every Bitcoin you buy, your wealth will grow, and you'll be able to buy a bigger property. That'll get you a nicer vehicle. In 10 years, it will have bought you more food than it has today. I see. You could get the same amount in 2 or 3 years, though. Who can say for sure? But in general, it's a great savings item. Yes, I believe it will perform admirably and purchase you a lot more, but the power law also shows that it has a substantial downside risk. Go ahead and tell them it isn't good enough. I really should go degen. Basically, all I'm trying to convey is that it's foolish. Avoid the worst case scenario. You can find dog coins if you're looking for extremely volatile ones and if you're willing to aim high. So what Giovanni is saying is, fine with me. It's all good with me if you want to play around with trading based on the Bitcoin power law. The thing I can't stand is when you take your money and randomly place it on a roulette number like 22 because I'm quite sure you're going to lose. Yeah, I believe Einstein kind of put it out there. I believe Warren Buffett said that again, or maybe Einstein said it. Everything is essentially compounded, and it may be the greatest marvel in the world or the fifth wonder of the world, whatever you want to call it. I see, therefore, if you are able to compound. It would be ideal if you could compound at 15% rather than 40%. Having a longer range perspective makes more sense when you have a few years ahead of you. See. So, I am merely stating that. You make a valid case that you did in fact take it. We can accomplish this with some basic arithmetic. Assume 1.4 raised to the power of 10. Very well. 29 times, I see. Thus, if you were able to accomplish 40% annually, fantastic. For a decade, definitely. No, you won't receive 4 times your initial investment. Instead of getting, you'll get 29 times as much. With the 29 times pre-tax return and the fact that you won't owe any taxes on Bitcoin sales, all of these factors add up to make Bitcoin a very compelling investment. I see. Finding something that is highly tax efficient is thus another crucial consideration. I see. Therefore, buying and holding Bitcoin is incredibly tax efficient. Plus, it's a top-tier method of making money. Now, by all means, begin spreading your risk if you come across something that is just as good as Bitcoin. So far, Bitcoin is the best thing I've found. Thus, am I not long some QQQ? Simply put, I find them to be really impressive. They can compare to Bitcoin in any way. I see, compared to Bitcoin, I really dislike them. But however, I can handle owning a few stocks, can't I? Although I have no problem with owning a little piece of real estate, you must understand that Bitcoin is the growth asset in my portfolio. Consequently, I believe that these are best pursued over a long period of time in the hopes of achieving excellent compound development. I see. For the time being, I concur wholeheartedly that it is a prototype network. Thanks to a global network, you may buy local money with your Bitcoin and spend it in any nation. It's still early, but that's manageable now, isn't it? I thought Bitcoin was still in its 15th year. That will definitely happen within the next 15 years, isn't it? We're going to see Bitcoin become a payment network, an app platform, and a medium of exchange for a lot more in the future. Maybe digital currencies issued by central banks or stablecoins or something else entirely, correct? However, an ecosystem will continue to develop around Bitcoin. Bitcoin's user base is going to explode. That means it will function more like a social media platform. Yeah, it's going to be more like the mobile network, as Giovanni mentioned, and you're going to need Bitcoin for everything. I believe we are still in the early stages of this new financial network, but it is already showing signs of life. It is in the network that the value resides. Where are the network effects and how do they work? In my opinion, purchasing Bitcoin is like placing a wager that this network will be centered around Bitcoin and no other cryptocurrency or solution. So many have argued that power law is not valid. Power rules can't foretell the future, as Joe Carl Lassalle has revealed, so you may call them BS, Fred, and 30 years ago they were employed to forecast Chicago's population, but they were unsuccessful. The demographics of Chicago 30 years ago don't interest me. I am unconcerned about it. What matters is not this. The important thing is that our model is very predictive. As Giovanni pointed out, Bitcoin's value has increased by more than 6 orders of magnitude, and this method has been highly effective throughout this entire time. Plus, the model's forecasting abilities are top-notch. Even when you consider stocks like Microsoft, which have increased in value by a factor of 3,000 since their initial public offering IPO, you will not observe these phenomena. Things that have been up 1,000,000 or 100,000 times are invisible to you. Therefore, I find this power law for Bitcoin to be really peculiar. I feel like I've been looking at models and Giovanni feels like he's been looking at models because of how well it fits. In all the time I've spent studying financial models, I've never encountered anything quite like this. Amazing as that may seem, it's not something that happens every day. That being said, I'm not afraid to speak up and declare my belief that it will carry on. Yeah, I'd totally be into that. Am I required to state that it will last for 20 years? Not me. Whatever it takes to keep it going for 4 years is fine with me. Understand what I'm saying. I happen to believe it will go on for a lot longer than 4 years, but we won't go there. I propose we simply do this. Prioritize the next 4 years. Time is the only variable in the power law, which is essentially just a very simple link between the price of Bitcoin and the passage of time, in my opinion. Furthermore, there are extremely high relationships between the log of time and the log of Bitcoin price. You can explore it to your heart's content, but in essence, it's a stable relationship in log space. Additionally, the power law is applicable to the quantity of addresses possessing a specific quantity of Bitcoin, as previously discovered in particular. Together with the total Bitcoin network hash rate, there is a lot. There are a number of power laws and they all mesh nicely. That, roughly speaking, is the power law. What gives it my favor? Why? Because it provides a clear explanation of the Bitcoin price. I like how Giovanni points out that this isn't technical analysis, it's a good point. People often tell me that they plan to use TradingView or some similar program to simply draw a line through multiple charts. Additionally, it's common for people to claim that Bitcoin disproves their claims. However, I am stating my opinion on what Giovanni is saying. The power law is consistent with Bitcoin's price history throughout. It makes a difference. Every single event in Bitcoin's history is perfectly consistent with the power law.